Hey everybody, my name is Chad. Along with my friends Greg and Julie, I am one of the owners of Milestone Running. We are starting a YouTube channel, and we're hopefully just kind of spreading some of the things we love about running, whether it's shoes or like nutrition, training, anything running related. So that's kind of what we're hoping to get out of this. But in the meantime, just going to talk a little bit about myself and how running has basically brought me to this point in my life where I am today. So for those of you that give a shit to stick around, I'll enlighten you for a little bit. So I, growing up, was not a person who loved running necessarily. I was definitely a ball sports guy. So anything that involved a ball and team, that was definitely my jam. I remember being in 8th grade and having to run the mile for gym class. And I know this is like running blasphemy, but I really, for the life of me, can't remember my mile PR in life. But I remember my 8th grade mile time being 7:11, and I remember being done with the mile and just hating it. I was miserable. I was like, I don't get how people do this as a sport. Definitely wasn't my thing. So fast forward to high school, we had a fall sports meeting for freshmen, kind of an orientation. You go to the gym, kind of pick out your sport and whatnot. So I went there fully intending to play volleyball. So my friend and I went to sports orientation, showed up looking for the volleyball coach, and I don't see them. I'm looking at my program and I'm like, I know it says volleyball on here. So I went and asked I asked the girls volleyball coach. So I was like, what's up with the boys volleyball thing? And she was like, oh, they canceled volleyball for boys this year. And I was like, okay. So my friend Jeremiah was like, hey, you should just run cross country with me. It'd be pretty fun, you know? So I was like, I don't know if I really want to do cross country. And he was like, come on, just try it out. And if you don't like it, you can always quit. So I was like, okay. Showed up first day practice. We did a 3-mile run. I grew up in Wisconsin, so we were kind of out on a country road. We did a 3-mile run. It was a 1.5 mile out, or a 1.5 mile back, and it was miserable. And it was just one of those things where I just kind of stuck it out for the first 2 or 3 weeks. And I really kind of grew to like running because of the guys on my team, like the people on the team. I kind of, forming relationships, and I guess like a lot of people realize through the sport of running that it's maybe not necessarily the running itself that you like, but there are other aspects, obviously the relationships you form and whatnot through running is what kind of, I guess, drew me to the sport or kind of kept me around. So, I ran all 4 years in high school. I actually took some time off of school after high school, so I didn't go to college right away. I took a couple years off, but when I did go back to school, I walked on to the cross country team, and I lasted about 3 weeks, I think. I definitely wasn't fast enough or good enough to make the cut. So I ended up dropping out of cross country, and shortly after that I had a guy from a high school in town reach out to me about coaching high school. So when I was in college, I actually got into coaching high school, and I coached for about 6 to 7 years, and it was definitely 6 of the kind of more fun years of my life. Definitely fond memories from coaching. But so I did that for, like I said, 6 or 7 years. Eventually, I just got tired of Wisconsin winters. I really randomly ended up living out in LA. So I kind of bounced back and forth between LA and Wisconsin for a little while, and then in 2010, I ended up getting a job at a running store in Santa Monica, and that's kind of where I met Greg. I was definitely kind of the quiet, awkward guy, which, come on, most of you distance runners can relate to that. But I was kind of stand like, when there were no customers in the store, I would be on my flip phone, hiding in apparel racks so like the cameras couldn't get me on camera texting. Greg called me one day and was like, hey, I'm moving down to San Diego. I'm going to live with my brother. How serious are you about the running store thing? And I was like, I think I'm pretty serious. At the same time, I had also just been accepted into a program through Cal State LA that was kind of a teacher credentialing program. It was like a fast track, get your master's and get your teaching credential. And I had literally just gotten accepted into that. I said, screw it, and I ended up moving down here, and Greg and I lived with his brother and his brother's roommate for, about like a year and a half maybe? Living situation, we were basically like college students again for the second time in our lives. So it was 4 of us in a two-bedroom apartment, and Greg and I each had our own couch in the living room, and we definitely did some couch sleeping for a couple years, all basically just to kind of save up, and we were trying to find money, basically trying to get funding, trying to figure out funding to open the store, because neither one of us exactly had a ton of money saved up. So into the loan office the one day that we got approved for our loan, and just walking out with 25 grand, I believe it was, which was about a quarter of what we thought we needed to open a store, but just being like, this is what we got, let's make it work. People always throw around the word like organically, like we really grew the store organically, and I kind of think that's probably the best way to put it. We didn't have a lot of money, but the North Park neighborhood, thankfully, is super supportive. We've learned over the last 7 years or so that North Park is super supportive of like small business and local business, and we've definitely been super grateful for that. At this point, from working in a running store together, living in his brother's living room together, living in the running store together for a little while. So Greg and I spent a lot of time together, needless to say. And I think Greg and I are definitely like a couple of guys that think we can shoulder a lot, we can handle, a lot of workload. So that's just kind of how we went about business for a couple years. But yeah, our friend Julie started showing up, and she'd worked at a different running store in town, and we won't mention any names, but she was pretty unhappy with her situation, and she would just randomly start popping in, and I'd be working, we'd be kind of busy, she'd stop in, help me kind of put shoes away, and I'd kind of try and tell her, I don't need your help, I can do this. And she just kept showing up and just kept helping, and basically kind of forced her way in a little bit. No offense, Julie, we love you, but yeah, so a couple years in, we decided, it's probably time, we need some help, and we also needed to take some time off for our personal health. So we decided to bring Julie on, and she's been awesome ever since, and we're obviously grateful for her feminine touch that she brings to the store, because I think it's safe to say that we need it, especially based on our women's apparel selection when we first opened. But
I thought you were misunderstood.
Misunderstood. I don't remember that exactly. So I'll say we have a guy named Jeff who comes to Run Club, and I think he summed this up really well one time. So shout out to you, Jeff Luco. He came in and he was like, you guys need to get shirts with all of your different faces on them, because you guys all have very distinct personalities. And he was like, you should get shirts that say, I'm a Greg, I'm a Julie, I'm a Chad. And I think the I'm a Chad one is kind of like, I'm known at Run Club as the guy behind the desk. So you won't catch me outside a lot, but I like hanging out inside. I'm not as social as maybe Greg or like some of the other people at Run Club. Being completely genuine here, there were times when Run Club was also a little bit of a something I didn't look forward to every week, because it was a lot of people in my space, a lot of people around my desk. COVID has definitely made me really appreciate Run Club and Wednesday nights, and I definitely miss like seeing this place packed with people and like the sidewalks packed with people. So we're definitely looking forward to 2021 when, Wednesdays are back to like kind of a normal Wednesday for us. So
Tell us about China.
China. For those of you who don't know, this is China. When we opened, we considered China the third owner of the store, and she was definitely.
She was HR.
She was HR China, and she was definitely the most popular, I guess, of the three of us. Like, people would definitely stop in just to see China, which is kind of weird because China is not. That thing people say about like you get dogs that kind of match your personalities? China wasn't the most overly social dog either, but it was weird because people really liked that dog. And she was definitely a big part of what we did too. But I feel pretty confident that Greg and I we're pretty equal in our napping ability. Neither one of us is exactly a slouch when it comes to napping. But we would have to put time limits on, or else, those naps could stretch from like a half hour to an hour to 2 hours. But we needed them. We were here every day. We'd have our neighbor guy come in, Frank, one of the guys who works next door and lives across the street. He'd come in and we'd have our little setup in the back, and he'd walk in, and he's, not to stereotype, but he's from the Northeast. He's kind of a loud guy, he's not a soft-spoken person. But he'd come in and he'd be all excited and want to talk to us about sports or something. And whoever was not napping in the front would have to be like, hey, shh. Craig's in the back napping. Oh, okay. And we had a little curtain that we'd keep shut to block off people from going in the back and keep our napping out of view. But it was essential. We needed it. I personally think work sucks for most people, and it's kind of a harsh reality of what we do, but I'm super grateful. I really never have days where I wake up where I'm like, oh my God, I have to go to work today. Like, I don't want to go to work. I don't have to drag myself to go to work because I look forward to seeing the people that I work with, and I genuinely enjoy what I get to do for work. So selfishly, I'm grateful for the opportunity that the community has given us. So